Ever wonder what happens to those viral high school prodigies who look like the next Lebron, but somehow ended up as basketball's biggest what-ifs? We're diving into the wild stories of 3 high school legends who had all the hype behind them, but flopped bad. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for what they're doing now, because life after high school stardom, it's not what you'd expect. Let's start with a man who broke the internet at just 14 years old. 7th Woods. Back in 2013, this kid from Columbia, South Carolina dropped a 9th grade mixtape that was so outrageous it made actual NBA stars look like LA Fitness weekend hoopers. The title? 7th Woods is the best 14-year-old in the country. And honestly, they weren't lying. 7th was already 6 feet tall, had a 44-inch vertical, and moved so fast that every camera trying to film him ended up looking like it was shot on a flip phone during an earthquake. In his sophomore year at Hammond School, he averaged 20 points, 4.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 3.6 steals per game. And did it all with a lot of swagger. And those dunks? They weren't just routine two-handers. 7th cocked it back like he was in NBA Street, flying over helpless 5'9" defenders who probably regretted picking up a ball that day. By his senior season, 7th was a 4-star recruit, ranked as a 54th best player nationally, not quite Zion Williamson's generational hype, but still enough to have ESPN, Ball is Life, and every hoop blog drooling over his highlight reels. Naturally, he chose to play for North Carolina, fulfilling every blue blood dream of rocking that baby blue jersey in March Madness. But here's where the story takes a turn, because the kid who once looked like a lottery lock ran into 2 brutal realities: injuries and the fact that college ball isn't a YouTube mixtape. Over 3 seasons at UNC, he averaged just 1.8 points and 1.4 assists, mostly coming off the bench. Instead of being the star, he became the hype man, the guy clapping hardest during a timeout. Hoping for a fresh start, 7th transferred to South Carolina. And while he showed flashes, averaging 5.4 points per game, it still wasn't the jaw-dropping dominance people once expected. When the NBA draft rolled around, 7th didn't hear his name called. Instead, he packed his bags for Slovenia, chasing pro hoops overseas, later bouncing through the G League and international stints, grinding, still chasing that dream. Today, 7th Woods is still out there hooping. He may not be the superstar we all liked on, but he'll forever be the kid who broke YouTube before TikTok was even a thing. Next up, Austin Rivers, also known as Doc Rivers' son, also known as a kid basically born on an NBA bench with a silver Spalding in his crib, who was supposed to be basketball royalty 2.0. And man, in high school, Austin didn't just live up to the hype, he doubled down on it. At Winter Park High School in Florida, he was a walking bucket. As a senior, he averaged 28.8 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 2.2 assists, while shooting nearly 48% from field and 32% from 3. Insane volume and efficiency for a kid. He didn't just put up stats either. Austin led Winter Park to back-to-back state championships, something no other team in the school's history had ever done. They even took down powerhouse teams with future D1 and NBA players like it was light work, and in the process, he earned Naismith Prep Player of the Year, the highest honor you can get as a high school hooper. He was also ranked the #1 shooting guard in the country by ESPN, ahead of future NBA names like Bradley Beal and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in that same 2011 class. That's how serious it was. People legit debated if Austin was the best overall player in the nation. And his mixtapes? Pure disrespect. He had that killer step-back 3 before Harden made it mainstream and cooked defenders so badly that you'd have expected them to transfer schools the next day out of sheer shame. There's one clip from the City of Palms Classic where he dribbles behind the back, splits 2 defenders, and then Euro steps around a 3rd guy like he was doing cone drills in his driveway. Pure sauce, no ketchup. With all that hype, he took his talents to Duke, where the legend only grew. As a freshman, he averaged 15.5 points per game, led the team in scoring, and became Coach K's go-to option in crunch time. Not bad for a rookie. And then there was the shot. You know the one. February 8, 2012 at UNC. Austin dribbles right, steps back over 7-footer Tyler Zeller and drills a cold-blooded three at the buzzer, silencing the Dean Dome and solidifying his status as a college hoops legend. People were already carving his path to NBA stardom in stone. But then came the NBA and the plot twist. Austin was drafted 10th overall by the Pelicans in 2012, then quickly traded and found himself playing under his dad with the Clippers. And instead of taking the league by storm, Austin settled into being a solid but streaky role player. Across his career, he's averaged 8.5 points, 2.1 assists, and bounced from New Orleans to LA to Houston, Denver, Minnesota, back to LA, and more. Was he horrible? Absolutely not. He had some nights where he dropped 25 plus off the bench, hit big threes, and even took over playoff games in spurts. But for a guy who was once the #1 high school player in America, he ended up being more good rotation piece than the next Steph Curry. And today, Austin was actually more known for his podcast takes, spicy Twitter beefs, and occasionally defending his dad's legacy on NBA social media than he is for lighting up scoreboards. Imagine being so unstoppable in high school that people were calling you the next coming of Jesus in a headband, only to wind up as NBA Twitter's favorite Nepo Baby meme anytime you go for 2 for 11. But hey, at least the family dinners are still lit. Now let's talk about arguably the most electrifying high school player the internet has ever witnessed, Akil Carr. Nicknamed the Crime Stopper. Not because he was some vigilante Batman type, but because actual police scanners in Baltimore reported that crime literally slowed down when he played. Why? Because the entire neighborhood, cops, kids, old heads, were all packed into sweaty high school gyms just to watch this 5'6" ball of chaos. And yes, you heard that right. Akil Carr was only 5'6", which made him the stuff he was doing even more insane. He was a human joystick with handles so tight you'd think the ball was tied to his wrist with a string. As a sophomore at Patterson High School in Baltimore, he averaged a mind-blowing 31.3 points per game. He even dropped 57 points in a single game against Forest Park, setting a new school record. By his junior year, he was averaging 29.3 points, 6.0 assists, and 5.0 steals, plus routinely grabbing rebounds over guys a foot taller because he simply wanted it more. He was named the Baltimore Sun's Player of the Year twice, earned Maryland Gatorade Player of the Year, and had gymnasiums literally turning people away at the door because fire marshals said it too packed. We're talking standing room only high school games that felt like Madison Square Garden, and Carr's legend wasn't just local either. He was such a viral sensation that an Italian pro team, Lottomatica vs Roma, offered him a $750,000 contract at just 17 years old to skip college entirely. That's how electric he was. European executives were trying to lock him down before he could even go to prom. And of course, his YouTube mixtapes were instant classic. Thousands of commenters from New York to Australia swore this kid would be the next Allen Iverson, just in a fun size pack. But here's where Akil's story flips from fairy tale to Netflix cautionary tale. Instead of going the traditional college route, he had brief commitments to Seton Hall, but never suited up. By 2014, he declared for the NBA draft straight out of high school prep ball, hoping his street legend status would carry over. It didn't. He went underdrafted and found himself bouncing around, from the Delaware 87ers in the NBA D-League to overseas teams in Canada, France, and the Dominican Republic. And off the court, things got rocky. Carr had arrests for assault and reckless endangerment, struggled with agent contracts, and rumors of missed practices. In short, all the discipline questions NBA teams had, they didn't get answered. They just got louder. The same fearlessness that made him a Baltimore playground god also meant he was tough to coach in structured systems. Defenders in high school didn't have a chance, but against pros, the size finally caught up. Today, Akil Carr is still hooping. He's a semi-pro and summer league legend, popping up in Drew League games, charity classics, and viral TikTok clips where he's still clowning defenders who dared think age slowed him down. On social media, he's almost a mythical what could have been story. Fans from back in the day tag him in comments, still arguing he deserved an NBA shot. Meanwhile, younger fans who discover his old mixtapes can't believe this dude didn't at least get a few 10-day contracts. So what's the takeaway from these three high school legends who flopped bad? Whether it's Seventh Woods breaking the internet at 14, Austin Rivers growing up with a Hall of Fame dad, or Aqeel Carr literally stopping crime with a crossover, they all teach us the same thing. Basketball isn't just about viral highlight. It's about growth, discipline, the mental grind, and honestly, a bit of luck. For every LeBron or Kevin Durant who lives up to the hype, there are dozens of guys who were YouTube gods but cautionary tales in the real world. And maybe that's why we still love these stories, because they remind us the hype is fun, the mixtapes never miss, but the real game, that's life. And it doesn't always care how many views your highlight reel got. So smash that like button, subscribe, and comment if these stories brought back memories.